Primal Beast to get ahead, and then finally Primal Beast, with all this advantage that he's had by not being pressured by the Enchantress, crosses the map with an Invis rune. And here's the other offlane, the Timbersaw level 5. They did spot Cloud here, invisible, but the whole team rotates over. They end up securing this kill on the Timbersaw, and they kill the Pango, who goes in aggressively. And then they move over and they say, look at this beautiful, juicy, succulent stack. And they clear all that. So all this early game that DUI kind of sacrificed for turned into a really good net worth lead for Alchemist. But then they just started killing Alchemist. So basically, nice counter picks. Xtreme Gaming was confident with the Enchantress. It didn't quite work out. They have to be super careful that they don't make a mistake like this against a definitely weaker team today.
Awesome. Thank you so much there, Purge. It's curious to see what's classed as like this flawless gameplay or what's going to be able to bring you success, because we looked at those stacks and how advantageous it was for 1W to get them. But on the flip side, Xtreme Gaming having that many stacks, that would have been perfect for their cause to be able to get ahead. It's just unfortunate that they weren't able to secure it and keep that area type for themselves. But do you expect that there's going to be a lot more counter picking when it comes to draft? Do you think that teams are more set in their ways, Jenkins, about this is exactly what I want to bring into a matchup beforehand, and they don't want to focus too much on being reactionary?
To be honest, I think that Xtreme is pretty set in their ways. We were talking with Quinn yesterday, and I was like, you know, give me some insight into Xtreme Gaming. They were in your group, you know, feed me some info. And he did. And he said,
feed me some info.
Yeah, and he said, these guys, they just counter pick. They play reactionary. I don't know.
You said you're wrong, bro, and that's why you lost to them.
I don't know if I agree with that. XM is always on the Ipers mid. He's on Sniper or Viper. He plays to win the lane. Like, he plays really toxic stuff. Jingqiu gets bored, and he plays Monkey King 4, Sniping Couriers, or Timbersaw 4. They have a very unique, weird playstyle, but I would describe it as toxic. And I totally understand what Quinn is saying. He's a better player than me, so he's probably right. But just when I see it, all I think is like, ugh, these guys, like, you just don't want to play against them. They're just so annoying with their picks.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely a really strong team in how they do it. We have the team that has lost once in the groups, right, versus the team that only won once in the groups here. So I'm not super worried for that one loss that Xtreme had. It was very unfortunate, right, what happened there when their stacks are stolen and stuff like that. But on Talon's side, they have to pretty much start from ground zero here. Nothing has been working out for this team. They've lost 4 games in a row now, and whenever you're in the territory of like 3 to 4 games without getting a single win, that's when you start to be like, nothing we're doing is working. So hopefully last night they spent all of their time just looking at not only their drafts, but maybe the early game movements, and kind of figuring out like what was our issue here. And I think preparation is going to be really key for Talon going into this one, and figuring out why they haven't won a game in the 4 games.
Yeah, they have a lot of like I feel like fundamental problems and how they are drafting around it, and some of the like really good heroes they're not really picking too much, like Wind Ranger, for example. They've been like really prioritizing the Morphing plus Dragonite, which those are also really good heroes, but they couldn't really do much with the Morphing. They only won 1 game. It was with the Dragonite, so maybe they're gonna try to piggyback around the DK again. But I would like to see them maybe gravitate towards like the Wind Ranger, for example, which has been really successful here.
I do want to give the Talon fans some hope out here, because last TI, it was a similar format where we had this everyone going into the upper bracket, a best of 3 into the playoffs. And I remember Tundra, who were so dominant in their group stage. I believe they went 7-1 or something like that. They had only lost 1 game for themselves. They'd picked Nouns, a team that was sitting at the bottom of the groups last year, and they ended up getting O2'd by Nouns. So Nouns continued in that upper bracket. So it's very real, it's very possible that Talon are able to bring something and surprise XG. You know, they were in separate groups, so whilst you're not playing up against each other, I know you can watch, you can do all that research, but it's not the exact same as actually coming up and playing officials against them. So there's still that hope out there. Call it copium, whatever you want, but there is the chance. Upsets are very viable here because of the extra pressure placed in wanting to continue in the upper bracket.
Yeah, they say you learn more from losing than winning. So, and I think in TI specifically, or just like the road to TI, whatever it might be, time kind of slows down, right? And that mainly just is because teams spend more time just researching and trying to win. So every single day is like a weakened like normal Dota here because everyone's just trying so much harder here. So teams can improve a lot quicker with these nights that we have off.
I think you also have to consider how both of these teams considered the first group stage. Like, were they... I don't think it's a trying, not trying thing. I think that's too binary. That's like...
Everyone's trying for
that. Yeah, that's like...
I mean, but that's like you're
That's-
trying, but you know,
right. I think
it's not the end. You know, if something goes wrong, we don't drop into the losers.
I
Right?
would,
Right.
I'd
No
like
one's
to put a
eliminated top.
percentage of how
yeah,
hard you're trying.
it's percentage, right? Because like just the binary is like it's too reductive. It's not how it is. But I do think looking at Xtreme's drafts that I do believe that what they drafted is exactly what they're going to be picking for the rest of the tournament. And you know, part of that is like I said, XM. No matter what the tournament is, or if these heroes are good or not, he will be Sniper and Viper mid. For Talon, they didn't do anything too special or surprising, and I kind of get the gut feeling that like Pilot Eye is cooking something. Like
But you reckon Talon are the team that have something in the back pocket? Like they're going to bring something new out when it comes to this best of 3 and future best of 3?
I think so. Just looking at the Dota 2 Pro Tracker of the Xtreme players, like Xingqiu, you know, he was playing the Timber 4 in a lot of pubs, and I was thinking like, oh, can't wait for this like pocket pick to come out, and it comes out in group stages.
Yeah, I mean-
in the group stage that's for the seeding matches.
Every time in a match like this, David versus Goliath, you're the weaker team. You're gonna have to put in more effort to come up with something that could surprise your opponents. Because you know, if you are playing an actual, just a normal way of playing, the normal way you're doing things, you're gonna have a lower chance. So you have to try something to surprise them, and it's a BO3. Whenever you want to try something, it's in the first game.
Do pocket picks still exist nowadays? Because like the way I've seen it lately,
Everything's a pocket pick.
I mean, it's not everything's a pocket pick. It's just like
Or like an
teams are just so
adjustment.
smart right now that like you'll pick a hero people haven't seen before, and if it's actually good, it's just gonna become the meta. I think Falcons was like one of the first to do this. It's like they didn't really have any pocket picks at some point. They were all pocket picks at the beginning, but eventually they just were good and they became the meta. And Dota's pretty difficult to surprise people right now.
I think we're at a somewhat transitionary period when it comes to heroes. Or, I mean, I believe that coming into the tournament. Like, I do think that, for example, I saw a lot of Bristleback being played in pubs and then in the Fisher tournament in the last couple of
I was
days.
surprised about the 5 Bristleback.
The 5 Bristle was very
they lost,
surprising.
which
did
was
lose.
not surprising.
Yeah, they went very horribly. He tried to solo the Tormentor, did not work. But Xtreme did play Bristleback
Yeah, they
on
picked it into a DK. I think that was the only time he played Bristleback.
Yeah.
Was against a DK.
And then in pretty much every other game, XXS has been Visage. And I think this is a hero that is being, it's like 50-50. Either teams think it's really broken or they like completely ignore it.
Yeah.
So I do think there are some heroes that's not necessarily, it's like, oh, how do I play against a
I mean,
Visage?
do you
Good
rate
golly.
Visage higher than Mars or equal?
Mars has looked very good in the games that we've watched together. So that makes me feel biased against for Mars, but also we haven't seen Lena at all, just by chance, and a lot of teams are valuing it highly, although it does have a 37% win rate, so
I
maybe
think
there's a
Mars
reason.
just looks good in general when a certain team is playing it because, like, for example, we watch a lot of
BB.
no,
Ramses plays a lot of Mars.
Yeah, Ramses, I guess, was one example, but like the reason for that is that team functions well with that hero. It's not necessarily that hero is like incredibly strong right now.
I do think the fact that the aura meta is falling off a little bit really helps Mars
No,
because
I
he's
feel like
just not
the
an
roles
aura
got
builder.
changed. So the offlaners doesn't necessarily have to rush it as much. So you can leave it to the support. That's why Mars kind of also
Yeah, yeah,
like
exactly.
he liked that, and he's really good against all these long range Mirana carries and Mirana.
Rana, Wind Ranger, Lena.
Lena.
Yeah, true.
Well, we do have a draft coming up on our screen here. Most of it is pretty standard, okay? Even the picks coming out, Naga being first pick and the Nature's Prophet being the first pick for Talon there. But the two interesting aspects are the bans. Talon taking out the Viper, and you already talked about how much XM is going to want to play it. He'll force it into a draft
And
no matter
Sniper,
what.
yeah.
Viper Sniper.
Yeah, well, Sniper is a bit more teams are willing to play it for.
They'll play it for, yeah.
Yep.
Some, you know, like it has a lot of flexibility. so I
it's a
see
good
thinking
strat
about-
because
Yeah.
XM he's really good at those heroes, but he's really bad at the spirit type of heroes. He's not as good, maybe not bad, but he's just not as good, Like, I feel like if you can force him out of his comfort zone and you force them to kind of lose some of their flex picks, it actually gives you an easier time in a draft.
All right, I'm gonna make a not so bold prediction here.
Awesome.
We haven't seen it that much, but I could see XM going to his Shadow Fiend with the with the Naga as the support.
10
Nice
seconds
Requiem
remaining.
setup here, and I remember at Riyadh, XM basically
5
said, if you
seconds
keep giving me
remaining.
SF, I'll keep winning with it. It's like, okay, fair
That's
enough.
when
And
he
then he
was
stepped
very
in.
broke.